who knows what. But we gotta honor him, man. Jesse Jackson, Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson ran for president. Jesse Jackson, to my knowledge, was part of the civil rights. Did a lot of things for the empowerment of black people in America. To my knowledge, he coined the term African American. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but he's been fighting for a long time for injustice of black people. Some people will agree, some people might not agree. That's to each his own. But we gonna give him the respect though. Just on being a elder, now he's an ancestor. You know, we gotta show respect when it's due, man. We gotta show respect, man. We gotta show knowledge to the civil right leaders and civil right contributors. You know, so right here we gonna give it up to, I don't know who should we let break it down. 'Cause I want to get like a full breakdown. The young folks don't know who Jesse Jackson is. I want to let people know. So we gonna give it to CNN. Let them tell it. The history of the history of Jesse Jackson, y'all. Show y'all respect, man. No troll comments. No troll comments. Let's go. Like, share, and subscribe. Daily Real News. Daily Real News. Let's go. Rest in power to the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Black History Month. Another one bites the dust. Much love, Jesse Jackson.
Our father was a servant leader not only to our family, but to the oppressed, the voiceless, and the overlooked around the world. We ask you to honor his memory by continuing the fight for the values he lived by. CNN's Abby Phillip has a look at Jesse Jackson's life and legacy.
Jesse Jackson's life was defined by a relentless fight for justice and equality.
I was born in Greenville, South Carolina, in rampant radical racial segregation. I had to be taught to go to the back of the bus or be arrested.
Those early experiences drove Jackson to join the civil rights movement.
The fact is, against the odds, we knew there were great odds, we were winning.
In 1965, he began working for Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.
I learned so much from him, such a great source of inspiration.
King named Jackson to lead Operation Breadbasket in Chicago, an economic justice campaign for Black people. However, some say King was frustrated by Jackson's brashness and ambition.
I'm sure he thought I needed more time. I was 24 years old.
Both men were in Memphis in April 1968 to support striking sanitation workers. King and other civil rights leaders were staying at the Lorraine Motel.
He said, Jesse, you don't even have on a shirt and tie. You don't even have on a tie. We're going to dinner. I said, Doc, it does not require a tie, just an appetite. We laughed. I said, Doc, and the bullet hit. Everything changed at that moment. It was a defining moment in the history of our struggle.
With King gone, his movement was adrift. Years later, Jackson formed Operation Push, pressuring businesses to open up to Black workers and customers and adding more focus on Black responsibility, championed in the 1972 concert Wattstacks.
In Watts, we have shifted from burn, baby, burn to learn, baby, learn.
And he expanded his own global reach too, helping to free U.S. Lieutenant Robert Goodman, who was held by Syria after being shot down, and later other Americans held in Cuba and Serbia.
I learned how to negotiate as an African American growing up among white people. You have to negotiate every day.
The Reverend set his sights on the White House in 1984.
Milking cows in Iowa, they're coming back to the inner cities. So I learned a lot during that period.
First thought of as a marginal candidate, Jackson finished third in the primary race with 18% of the vote. That campaign almost went off the rails when Jackson used an ethnic slur to refer to New York Jews.
There's mistakes and they hurt.
He ran again in 1988, this time doubling his vote count and finishing in second in the Democratic race.
Keep hope alive on tomorrow night.
At the time, it was the farthest any black candidate had gone in a presidential contest.
But 20 years later, when President Barack ran, we were laying the groundwork for that season.
In 2017, Jackson had a new battle to fight, Parkinson's disease. But that didn't stop him.
If you hold on, if your cause is right and your grip is tight, you'll make it.
Late in life, he was still fighting. He was arrested in Washington while demonstrating for voting rights. His silent presence at the trial of Ahmaud Arbery's killers prompted defense lawyers to ask that he leave the courtroom. Jackson stayed.
I am somebody. I am somebody.
From the Jim Crow South, through the turbulent 60s, and into the Black Lives Matter movement, Jesse Jackson was a constant, unyielding voice for justice.
May his memory be a blessing. That was CNN's Abby Phillip reporting. She even wrote a book about Jesse Jackson. Reverend Jackson is survived by his wife, Jacqueline, their children, grandchildren, and extended family. Joining us today in the group chat, Jeff Zeleny, CNN Chief National Affairs Correspondent, Chuck Rocha, Democratic strategist and former advisor to Bernie Sanders' presidential campaigns, and Ashley Davis, former White House official under President George W. Bush. Jeff, I want to start with you. You actually just finished reading Abby's book, A Dream Deferred. And we were talking about how Jesse Jackson served as sort of the bridge from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he was his protege, to President Obama, to present day. I mean, he kept fighting till the very end.
There's no doubt about it. And the towering legacy and figure that Jesse Jackson is unparalleled in America's 20th century. Barack Obama would not have been elected as the first black president in America without Jesse Jackson, not because they had a close relationship. They did not. It was stressed. It was filled with tension. Their family did, but this is why. Because Jesse Jackson, through his 1984 a bid for president and 1988 a candidacy for president, he literally changed the Democratic Party and changed the way Democrats elect their presidents. Gone are the smoke-filled back rooms at party conventions where the candidate was decided, but Jesse Jackson opened up that process through making it a delegate fight. And Barack Obama seized upon that in 2007 and 2008 and built a grassroots campaign that was basically the modern day version at the time of what Jesse Jackson did, particularly in 1988. So he paved the way for that, but so much more. He literally was the bridge between the two. But to Barack Obama, as I think back to covering him during my time in Chicago, he moved to Chicago in part because he wanted the Black American political experience. And Jesse Jackson was that in Chicago. He left Memphis after Dr. King's assassination, and Jesse Jackson was there. And he moved to Chicago to start the Rainbow Push Coalition, really building the broad-based modern Democratic Party. And as Chuck knows well, without Jesse Jackson, a very similar message to what Bernie Sanders did in his campaign in 2016 and 2020, economic justice, really building a broad-based coalition. So the through lines there are so important. Jesse Jackson's his fingerprints are on our politics right now at the moment as well.
Yeah.
And let me build off what Jeff said, because it's really, really important, because Democrats need to remind themselves today, as we live in the Trump presidency, about what Jesse Jackson did. He went out as a black man and talked to poor white farmers. He went out and talked to union members about keeping jobs in America. He started building a coalition, to Jeff's point, before Barack Obama, about bringing together black, brown, and poor white people to say, look, it's not left versus right, it's up versus down. And he was the one who really started that in a day when in the back rooms, the smoke-filled rooms that Jeff talked about, was where the power lays. And some would say, I would even might say, that some of that power has reemerged when we should get back to what Jesse Jackson used to talk about, which is the workers and the Workers' Party.
Because in an interesting way, President Trump has kind of gotten a lot of that coalition, especially in this past election, from increasing his black voters, but also the poor white people that just feel like the government does not help them anymore and they've lost their way. But I have a question. So I haven't read her book yet. I know you both have, but what was the complicated relationship about with Obama?
I was going to follow up with that too. No, it's a great question because I think people will wonder that.
Yeah. Look, one of the pieces of the complicated relationship was that when Barack Obama was running for president, Reverend Jackson thought that Senator Obama didn't pay him the respect that he wanted at the time necessarily. And Jesse Jackson was not a part of the Obama campaign. His son was, Jesse Jackson Jr., the member of Congress. He was a national co-chair, but there was always a tension between Senator Obama and Reverend Jackson at the time, largely because Jesse Jackson wanted to be a bigger part of the campaign. The Obama campaign obviously did not want to go anywhere near him for political reasons and other reasons. But as Abby writes about in her book, they did reconcile in recent months and years and have a conversation, but largely because Reverend Jackson did not think that President Obama sort of gave him his due, if you will. But during the campaign, Jesse Jackson, back in 2008, I was just looking at the story, I wrote about it at the time, he criticized Obama openly for talking down to black men. And this is something that Senator Obama would talk about a lot, that black men have responsibilities as fathers and they should live up to those more. But Jesse Jackson has said that Obama was talking down to black men. He had to apologize for his criticism. So just a lot of tension over the years between them, but their families were very close. The maid of honor at the Obama's wedding was the oldest daughter of Jesse and Jackie Jackson. So they are deeply intertwined because of the South Side of Chicago. But back to Chuck's point, some of the most iconic political images of the 20th century will be Jesse Jackson on a farm in Iowa, on a tractor, surrounded by hundreds of white farmers who were caught up in the farming crisis of 1980. Jesse Jackson was their voice. And that is something that truly was iconic at the time.